where these two young professionals are in the restaurant and they're quibbling about whether or not women fake it in the bedroom. Remember that? And the punchline of this whole scene is, I'll have what she's having. Well, there's another scene in the movie that I really like that's really relevant to what we're talking about tonight. And that's where these two young professionals are driving from Chicago to New York to start their lives. And Harry is obsessed with death, and Sally is someone who wakes up on the sunny side of the bed every day thinking that the world is her oyster. And as they're driving along in the car, he says, well, do you ever think about death? And she looks at him like he's crazy. And he says, yeah, but when the goes down, I'm going to be prepared and you're not. And you know what? Sometimes the hits the fan and bad things happen to nice people, and global pandemics strike entire communities of people around the globe, and all of a sudden you've got yourself a real emergency. I know an awful lot about this myself because I've had these things happen to me. 3 years ago, 3 women in my life had their lives totally upside down by sudden death, divorce, and disability. And I was afraid that the same thing could happen to me. And what do you know? What you wish for ultimately happens, because life really did hit the fan. And my mother was diagnosed with dementia. Our home was burglarized, and everything that we cared about was taken from our home while we were 3,000 miles away, including both of our cars and all of my jewelry. And just last December, my husband was rushed to the hospital in the middle of the night with a mini stroke, and I was wondering what my life was going to be like if I had occasion to bring him home. Fortunately, he's fine, but these examples are more about life than about death, and crazy random things happen to all of us all the time. And if we're caught unaware, we can have our pants around our ankles instead of around our waist, which is a much more empowering place to stand. Where if we've just bought a new home, if we've just bought our retirement place, if we have just accomplished whatever it is that we wanted, it's because it was a goal that we had and something important we wanted to achieve. On your dream board might be the opportunity to fly freely around the world with a passport without having to wear a mask and wondering about your health. It might be losing the COVID-19 of the pounds that you've gained while you've been sheltering in place. It might be to have grandchildren one day, or to have a great big wedding, or to have a renewal of your vows. There's all kinds of wonderful things that you want to dream about and hope for and achieve. And I'm all for it. But there are some sobering situations that can derail success and stop you in your tracks. Like, for example, identity theft is the fastest growing crime in the United States, Canada, and the United Kingdom. 3 out of 4 homes in the United States will be broken into within the next 20 years, and 60% of families don't have a current will. And then there's the big D's: disease, diagnosis, diminished mental capacity, divorce, and of course, death. These things happen sometimes in the blink of an eye. And given how fast identity theft is, and how many homes will be broken into, and how many families don't have a current will, what I think to myself is, why is it that people will plan and be so deliberate about their success, but not take steps to protect the things that they value because they can't get around to it, or because procrastination is in their way, or because they're too busy hoarding toilet paper and hand sanitizer instead of taking care of something that can really matter when the moments matter the most? This I ask myself often, having been the victim of life hitting the fan a few more times than I care to confess. Again, why are we so quick to invest to build the dream and build the success, but so reluctant to protect it? So who am I, and why should you listen to me anyway? For the last 10 years, I've been very successful running a business called GetKnownGetPaid.com, and I have been guiding experts, authors, speakers, and game changers to get known and paid for their winning ways. And part of the way I've done that is to support them in writing a bio that stops traffic, speaking from live and virtual stages to make their impact and to expand their influence in much bigger ways. A very successful business. I've made millions of dollars over a period of time. Very, very proud of that. But when life hit the fan, my business had to derail because I was really dealing with life and death in more ways than I really wanted to. And what I have come to believe is that out of our deepest wound in life calls our greatest gift to share. So like I created Bye Bye Boring Bio to solve a problem because I'd had all these terrible things happen to me, what could I do from that difficult situation that would be of service to families everywhere so that they would not have to be derailed from whatever they're trying to accomplish? That's why I'm so passionate about helping people to get ahead of life before life hits them in the behind, because I know what it feels like to be stuck there, and I don't want anyone to have to stay there unnecessarily long so that they can get on with the rest of their lives. As I said, life hit the fan for me in a big way. I was not expecting it. And for many of us, all of us, life hit the fan in a very big way with COVID-19. There's hundreds of thousands of people worldwide whose lives have been cut short by surprise. And there's a whole wave of grief that's overcoming the world where people didn't have any time to prepare. But what about the people who are left behind to clean up what was left behind, that can't find what they need when they need it, and can't find what they need to close the account or to manage the investments or to access the Bitcoin assets that were millions of dollars that nobody can find? This is the kind of aggravation that we can avoid with a little pre-planning. So you might ask, what's on my dream board? 3 words: no more drama. Can I get an amen to that? No more drama. If you've got the ability to raise your hand or make a comment, please post in the chat. I want no more drama. I want to get ahead of life before it kicks me in the behind. I want to know what to do, because I'll tell you something. What I've learned from being in drama, and listen, everybody's different. Everybody deals with the crisis in a different way. But when I'm in a difficult situation, I'm driving my husband to the hospital at the 11th hour, I don't want to be wondering, where is his Social Security card? Where's his Medicare identification number? Do I know what his final wishes might be? Do I, most importantly, know what his medications are? Because in a stroke scenario, which is exactly what we were dealing with, you have only 30 minutes to deploy whatever treatment is needed to have the most fruitful, positive impact. And if you don't know the names and dosages of your partner's medications, that could delay vital, important treatment that could save his or her life and make sure that the life they get is the life they want. This is more about life than about the alternative, and I really want you to hear that, because that is why I am waving the flag for this. I am all about having epic adventures still to come. I am a reasonably young woman with a life ahead of me that could be brilliant and beautiful, and I'm not going to let any random crazy thing derail me, and I don't want you to have anything random or crazy to derail you too. So I have 5 personal blind spots I want to highlight for you. These are things that you can do today or this week that will have far more lasting impact than organizing your sock drawer or weeding the yard or doing every load of laundry that there is to do, or even working the puzzle or 2 or 5 that you've been working on while you've been sheltering in place. Are you ready to hear what they are? Yes? Okay, I like seeing those head nods. What's the first one? If you are a homeowner or a multiple homeowner, please make sure that the adults who share the mortgage responsibility, that both of their names are on the utility bills. Because if there is an issue with the water, the power, the light, or the gas, both parties should be able to call and say, we have an emergency, we need someone to come out and fix it. If your name is not on the bill, you will be met with, I'm sorry, Mr. So-and-so, your name isn't on the bill and I'm not authorized to talk with you. Can you please bring me the account holder and I'll happily help you? Well, that doesn't help you at all if the account holder is out of town and you're the only person holding the bag and the water is coming into the house in buckets and you can't do anything to stop it. So the next billing cycle, please, when you pay it, call the utility company and make sure that the other person is on the account so that both of you can manage if need be. That's number one. Number two, we live in an age of the modern family. Well, not everybody's married to the same spouse for a lifetime. If you have investments, if you have insurance, if you have assets, retirement accounts, assets that have meaningful impact, when was the last time you checked your beneficiary designations to make sure they are current? If you have changed your address, you have a need to alert your various service providers that you have had a change of address. That's also a really timely opportunity to check with all the people with whom you have your accounts to make sure your beneficiary designations are up to date. Because you don't want to be wife number 3 expecting to inherit your husband's millions, only to find out that wife number 2 is still on all the paperwork. I see Brenda's nodding. I like to see that. I know in my case, my husband and I signed up for life insurance shortly after we returned home from our honeymoon 32 years ago, long before our son was even a glint as my husband's eye. And here we are 23 years later, and I'm so glad that when we moved, I asked, what were our beneficiary designations? Because at that time, I designated my sister to be my secondary beneficiary, and my son wasn't even anybody I ever thought would come into an existence. So you can bet your bottom dollar I updated my beneficiary designations to make sure that my son is number 2 and my sister's number 3, because I wouldn't want my only son to feel left out because of some administrative misstep on my part. As I've already mentioned, my home was burglarized not just once, but twice in 15 years. And if you are someone who has received beautiful jewelry, important estate items, artwork, anything of value, now is a really good time to create a spreadsheet that shows what it is, what the appraisal is, take pictures of it, and have receipts for it. Because if you are one of the 3 out of 4 households whose homes will be burglarized in America and beyond today, you don't want to be the one that can't remember what you had, so when you make your insurance claim, it's cumbersome and time-consuming and frustrating for all the parties. How much better could it be if, yes, you're very upset that all these items are gone, but how awesome was it for me to be able to say, yeah, it really blows that I don't have these beautiful things anymore. But the good news is, here are my receipts, my appraisals, the photographs, and everything that was lost. May I please be reimbursed? And a couple weeks later, the monetary value was returned to me, and I'm on to the next thing. Could you do that? If you can't do that, because it happened to me twice, I don't want it to happen to you once. Inventory your valuables. Can I get an amen to that? Got an amen. Like seeing that. This one's really practical. We are all attached to our phones. Our contacts are in our phone. Everything we care about is in our phone. But if your partner can't get into your phone and something should happen to you, that makes it a whole lot harder for her to call your employer, get in touch with all of your contacts and let them know, we've got an issue, we need to circle the wagons, can you help? Not being able to get into a phone is, in this day and age, a moat you don't want to have to try to jump through. So share your login password with your partner who needs to gain access to your phone just in case. It can save a lot of trauma, and chaos in those clutch moments and give you a lot more power to manage whatever life has served up. This final tip, the 5th tip, is to create a document storage box that has your essential goodies stored there. So if there's a fire, a flood, or some reason you have to flee your home right away, you can grab it and go. I mentioned earlier that identity theft is a problem, and if that's ever happened to you, You know how many hours it takes to call all of your vendors and say, this was my credit card number. It is no longer secure. Can you please cancel it and issue me a new one? If you don't remember your account numbers, it's really hard to make those phone calls. And the cost to you of someone perhaps running away with your accounts and spending on them fraudulently, it's costly in the value that and the aggravation, but in the time that it takes to unravel the damage that's done, that's something you can sidestep with a little preparation. So there's many things you can have in this document box. We actually have 16 specific things that we recommend you put into it. And just generally speaking, insurance documents, estate documents, your passport, your personal contacts, your important vendors, the things that you would need to grab and go just in case that would make your life easier to rebuild if you had to. And for those of you who are sentimental, I have all of my son's Santa pictures for 22 years in my Go box, because if there was a fire or a flood, that would be a huge loss to me not to have those anymore. My college diploma, my husband's college diploma, important documents that mean something to me, they're in that box. And if I need to grab and go, I'll be in good shape. And I want that for you as well. There are some items that you don't want to keep in your house. Some things should be kept in a secure location, like a safe deposit box, and I can answer some questions about that for you if you have them. But definitely, these are 5 things that you can do starting today to get life by the handle so that you can drive no matter what happens tomorrow. And if those are the gifts you give your family, I think you're going to be further ahead and feel so much better about the mess you will not leave behind, and it will be an additional gift and part of your legacy to have tended to your family in this way. Over the last 2 years, I have heard from hundreds of women, and the stories that they have told me have made the hair on the back of my head stand on end and created goosebumps, and not in a good way. Debbie wrote in and told me that her husband had a stroke 3 years ago, and it was a nightmare. He always insisted on paying the bills and wouldn't let her have access to anything. And when he had the stroke, she had to manage everything, and she couldn't get in, and she couldn't close accounts to save money. And it was a very stressful time that was so unnecessary if they had just gotten on the same page and talked about it. Dale was telling me that her husband died at 45 years of age. She tells everyone she knows to have their stuff in order because the laws are different in every state. Please prepare, she says. You do not want to have to try to figure out everything when you're trying to grieve. It took me over 2 years to get things straightened out. Nobody wants or deserves that. If you love your partner, no matter your age, you will be prepared for everything and anything. So there are 2 paths you can follow. One is to have aggravation and have more unanswered questions and no fast and easy way to get the answers. And the other is to open up a dialogue with your loved ones and have an open conversation about this kind of thing. It could be the children asking the parents, can I please be available to support you just in case you're not well enough to handle this on your own? I want to be able to do what I can for you. It could be 2 adult partners. It could be any variety of the sandwich generation, learning to talk among and between each other just to open up the dialogue. But I would much rather have that than being the one that doesn't have the answers and doesn't have anyone to go to get the solution that can unlock the rest of their life. And I think this is a whole lot more important than organizing your socks. And I know a lot of people are spending a lot of time doing that right about now. So when is the right time to do this? It's the same thing as like the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago to provide shade. Well, if you didn't plant a tree 20 years ago, you can sure plant a seedling today. And the best time to get your act together is now. And given what we're dealing with in the world today, I don't think I have to emphasize that point any more clearly than I already have. What is my wish for you is that you will choose to take the path of empowerment, just in case something happens tomorrow that could change the world in an instant. And when you decide to do that, you can say goodbye to being a passenger and be arms wide open to be on equal footing with your loved ones. Having guided hundreds of families so far through this experience in our playful and engaging way, what I'll tell you for sure is that what starts out as a scavenger hunt of looking for information, it turns into a transformational journey that has wonderful and lasting benefits, because you start thinking about the wonderful things you've done in the past, the mistakes you made in the past, the fact that you can course correct and make better choices for the future, and the fact that there are plenty more adventures still to come, and you can go ahead and enjoy them knowing that you've gotten your act together and you don't have to worry about leaving a mess for anyone. And I think that's a very empowering thing to do. So as I mentioned, my husband and I, we've had plenty of hit the fan over the last couple of years. We've seen a lot of other people have the similar thing happen to them. And so we created the Life Goes On Roadmap system for personal financial information organization. And it includes a guidebook to show you 16 road stops to take to actually get your stuff together. It includes a game board that guides you on the scavenger hunt to get everything organized so that you can become an I'm Ready for Anything road tripper. And the heart of the system is the digital organizer that allows you to easily save, share, update, and store your information safely, and to give access only to those people in your family who have a need to know. It's a complete system that you can either ship to your doorstep or enjoy the digital version if that's your preference. And so what I would love for you to do is to think about what I've shared in the 5 steps that we've talked about, and lean in and invest to build and dream and achieve those big dreams that you have, but also take precautions to make sure you're doing the right thing to protect them. Because what my big dream is now is that millions of families will proudly use Life Goes On Roadmap as a gift of empowerment for all those that they love. And so if you're inspired to start today, I have a free gift for you that will allow you to start your scavenger hunt tonight. You just simply go to lifegoesonroadmap.com, and you will receive by digital download the Get Your Act Together Getting Started template, so you never leave a mess for your family to clean up later. And it'll come directly to your inbox, and it's a very engaging report that has specific things you can go searching for in your house so that you can start the process of getting your document box squared away. It's completely free, it's very fabulous, and all I ask is that you use it, because what good is things that you don't use when there's so much at stake? And if you are so inspired to treat yourself, your mom, your dad, your grandmother, whoever it is that you love the most with the gift of this beautiful system, you can make a purchase today if you're so inspired. You go to lifegoesonroadmapnow.com, and whether you choose the 3-ring binder or the digital version, all the goodies will arrive in your inbox within seconds, and then you'll have the whole system to guide you, and you'll get to be part of my Facebook community where I'll answer questions and keep you motivated. And you also get audio files where my husband and I guide you through getting this done and making it fun so that you're not doing it alone. So regardless of your schedule, you can just set aside time to do this. And in terms of time to do this, people always ask me, like, how much time does it take? And it really depends on how complex your financial situation, how many homes you have, how many investments you have, what your military history, but there's 16 stops, and this is the final thing I want to say. My husband and I did this in one Saturday from 9 to 2 in the afternoon, and we celebrated with champagne. We are that kind of people that start and finish and celebrate. If sitting and doing that kind of paperwork is too much for you to take on all at once, how about taking on one of 16 road stops, 20 minutes a day, for the next 16 days? Because in 16 days, that's just a little more than 2 weeks, 20 minutes a day, you can work through all 16 sections and have something really important to celebrate. And it looks like we're going to be sheltering in place for a while, so this might be something to take on. So that's my presentation for you today. I hope that you've learned something about getting ready for opportunity before it knocks. And I'm really happy to answer any questions that you might have and learn any ahas or insights that you've gained as a result of me being here with you tonight. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. And Nancy, thank you so much. I'm gonna, feel free to stay on. I will keep the meeting open here with Nancy for any of you that have questions. If you don't, this is a